Somewhere in a server room you'll never visit, a model sits behind a closed door. Anthropic built it. Then they looked at what it could do and decided the public couldn't have it. Not yet, maybe not ever. So instead, they made a list. 50 companies, the biggest names in tech, finance, and infrastructure. Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, JP Morgan. They handed each one access to the model along with $100 million in credits to use it. They called it Claude Mythos. Here's what Mythos can do. It found a vulnerability hiding inside critical open source software. Not for a year, not for a decade, for 27 years. It had been sitting there, invisible, waiting. Mythos found it in hours. It found another one buried in code for 16 years. Code that automated security tools had scanned 5 million times and missed every single pass. And the Firefox bugs that previous AI models could only exploit twice out of hundreds of tries, Mythos exploited them on nearly every attempt. These aren't abstract findings. These are the kinds of flaws that let ransomware shut down hospitals mid-surgery, that let foreign intelligence services go through government networks, that let attackers take down infrastructure so embedded in daily life that most people don't even know it's there until the lights go out. The technology works. It exists. The question was never, can we build this? The question was always, who gets it first? Meet Priya. She's not a character, she's a composite, but she's real because there are thousands of her. She's a volunteer programmer. She's been maintaining a piece of open source software for 20 years, in the evenings, on weekends, between jobs and kids and everything else. The code she tends quietly runs inside products used by billions of people. There's no salary, no stock options, no security team reviewing her commits. She does it because the culture of the internet was built on a simple, unspoken deal. Developers share, developers help, developers maintain. Right now, Priya has no idea what vulnerabilities are sitting in her codebase, but someone with the right tools could find out in minutes. Then there's the other person who got left out. He built his first app last month, using AI to do what would have taken a developer years to learn. She vibe coded a patient portal for her dental practice. He's a nonprofit director who built a donor management system without a single line of formal training. AI made it possible for them to build. Nobody made it safe. But what's the risk, really? Well, that dental patient portal? It probably stores names, dates of birth, insurance information, social security numbers, and medical histories. A real developer building that system would know to encrypt the database. They would know not to expose a direct query endpoint to the internet. Would know that "it works" and "it's secure" are two completely different sentences. The person who vibe coded it knows that patients can log in and see their appointments. That's the whole thing that they checked. One misconfigured database setting, one exposed API endpoint with no authentication, that's the difference between a working app and a HIPAA violation that destroys a small practice and hands a stranger every medical record inside of it. The mini storefront, though, that's scarier in a different way. Someone built it in a weekend. It takes payments. It looks clean. A real e-commerce developer would know to never touch raw card data. You route everything through Stripe or Square and let them handle the liability. You never log payment details. You never store them. You implement rate limiting so an attacker can't run 10,000 stolen cards through your checkout in an hour. The person who vibe coded the storefront was just proud it accepted Visa. They had no idea their checkout flow was logging full card numbers to a plain text file on a server that hadn't been patched in 6 months. They had no idea that the file was publicly accessible to anyone who typed the right URL. This isn't hypothetical. Variations of this happen constantly. It just used to require enough technical knowledge to build the store in the first place, which acted as an accidental filter. That filter's gone now. A 14-year-old with the right prompt can build a functioning e-commerce store today, which means a 14-year-old with the wrong intentions can build a convincing one designed from the start to harvest card data from everyone who checks out. And that nonprofit donor database? It holds names, email addresses, giving histories, and in many cases, the political or religious affiliations you can infer from who someone donates to. It might hold phone numbers, home addresses, and recurring payment credentials. A director who built it without technical training almost certainly didn't implement role-based access controls. Didn't think about what happens when the board member's login gets phished. Didn't set up audit logging to know if someone was inside the system pulling records. The data sitting in that database is a gift to anyone running a targeted phishing or social engineering operation. Vibe coding didn't create bad intentions, but It eliminated the knowledge barrier that used to stand between good intentions and catastrophic exposure. You used to have to understand a system to build it. That understanding came with at least some awareness of what could go wrong. Now, the gap between I built a thing and I understand what I built has never been wider. I've seen people vibe code a thing, then ask, now what? They didn't consider user journeys, edge cases, what happens when someone pastes code into their contact form's comment field. Security isn't a feature you add when something breaks. It's a set of decisions baked into every layer of a system. The database schema, the authentication flow, the API design, the logging, the access controls, the update cadence. You can't prompt your way to that. You can't vibe your way into that. It requires people who have seen things go wrong, who know the shape of an attack before it happens, and who understand that the threat model for a patient portal is fundamentally different from the threat model for a recipe blog. Is it HIPAA compliant? Probably not, but the vibe coder told the AI to make it compliant, so they trust it is. The doctor trusts it. After all, their brother built it. The patient trusts it, but should they? The people who have seen how this goes wrong, they still exist. They're just not in the loop anymore. For a long time, the internet held together on a kind of structural luck. Writing software was hard. Finding bugs was hard. The people who could break things were roughly matched by the people who could fix them. The informal deal? Share, help, maintain. It worked because the barrier to entry kept the chaos at a manageable level. AI just broke both sides of that equation simultaneously. Now anyone can build, and soon anyone can find what's wrong with what was built. The volunteer maintainer who has kept your infrastructure running for 2 decades is just as exposed as the person who shipped their first app last Tuesday. The door that Mythos opened doesn't close. So here's what's fair to say about Anthropic. They slowed down. They didn't publish Mythos to the world and let the market sort it out. They put $4 million toward open source security. In an industry defined by move fast, they moved carefully. But $4 million is a rounding error for companies worth trillions. Companies that built those valuations on top of open source software, they never paid for. Priya never sent them an invoice. She probably never will. The fix isn't complicated. It just requires companies to stop pretending open source infrastructure is a natural resource, something that simply exists, like air, like water, that you can build a $1 trillion business on top of without asking who keeps it clean. Every tech company shipping products built on open source code needs to fund the people who maintain it, not as charity, as a cost of doing business. AI companies building tools like Mythos need to get those tools into the hands of maintainers, not just the enterprise clients with legal teams and lobbyists. And for the millions of people building software for the first time, security has to be the default, not the upgrade. The AI that writes the code should protect the code automatically, without an upsell. And the people who understand security, databases, and governance, they don't become less important because AI can write code. They become more important because now there's exponentially more code in the world, written by people who have never had to think about what happens when it breaks, or when someone makes it break on purpose. Why do you think AI vibe-coded software is being banned and shunned? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. The alternative is already taking shape. An internet where the people with resources build walls and everyone else stays exposed. The people at the top of Anthropic's list got something extraordinary. They got the ability to find what's broken before anyone else does. Priya, she's still waiting. She doesn't even know she's waiting. And somewhere, someone who just shipped their first app is waiting too. They're just waiting for something different.